Welcome to tonight's edition of State of the Economy. I'm Justin Mahlatla, and tonight I am joined by the Chief Executive Officer of Zimtrade. That's Mr. Allan Majuru, who is also the Zimbabwe Ambassador and Commissioner to Osaka 2025. Welcome, Mr. Majuru.
Thank you, Justin.
The National Trade Development and Promotion Organization of Zimbabwe, Zimtrade, plays a very pivotal role in terms of promoting the country's exports, in terms of facilitating foreign investment and supporting the development of Zimbabwe's trade policies and strategies. And so, Mr. Majuru, to start off, what are some of the key initiatives that Zimtrade is implementing to support export development and promotion in Zimbabwe?
Thank you, Justin. You see, if you look at 2024, a lot of initiatives were done. And I think the whole aspect is for us to diversify our export markets and also to diversify our product range. Last year, I think UAE, became one of the first key trading partners for Zimbabwe. I think the data is from January to October. The exports for UAE, I think, went up to around 2.3 billion, followed by South Africa, which is around 2 billion, and then China and Mozambique, and then Zambia being on the fifth. So UAE has come up. But I think the key issue is what are we trading? I think we are doing a lot of work in making sure that we focus on value-added goods and services. Currently, it's mainly minerals and commodities, tobacco, cotton, you name it. But the good thing is we did a lot of initiatives in the region, DRC, Botswana, Malawi, Zambia, Namibia, just to mention a few. So those ones are trying to also help us so that our eggs are not in one basket, but rather we've got a diverse range of activities that we are doing to support those markets. And also we are capacitating our companies for them to be able to penetrate those markets. Market intelligence is quite key for you to penetrate markets. So we've done a lot of market scans in Ethiopia, Nigeria, just to mention a few.
I've seen Lesotho, Canada.
Yes. Yeah, we're now doing trade briefs, I think, with the guidance of our minister. I think that's a new thing that we are now working on, so that we also assist companies to penetrate markets.
Mm-hmm. Now, penetrating such markets, be they regional or international, means Zimbabwe has to be competitive. How do you rate the competitiveness of Zimbabwean products and services?
So the good thing is the Office of the President and Cabinet has put in a committee that is working on improving the ease of doing business. And for us, our key focus is improving the ease of doing export business, which is quite key for us to be competitive. And I think for us to be competitive, and I think for people to just understand what is competitiveness, it's us, the ability of us exporting a quality good at least cost. So that is what we are just doing to make sure that we penetrate export markets.
Let's look at the initiatives that are in place to capacitate exporters, because you said you capacitate exporters. I've seen programs where you take avocados from markets, producers in Manicaland, and some goods elsewhere. How exactly do you capacitate local producers and manufacturers to access markets outside the country?
So we've got a number of programs that we are running. I think we've got what we call the Eagle's Nest. This is mainly targeted at youth entrepreneurs. We give them an incubation program where they started not knowing anything about exports, and after a year, some of them are export ready, and some of them are even exporting. We also have what we call the Next Year Exporter program, targeted at women-led enterprises, and we've seen many success stories, and these are incubation programs. And we've got what we call cluster development programs. I think we've done a number of them, more than 30 in different parts of the country in support of devolution. And I think the current thrust led by our ministry and our minister is we are now putting them into themes. So when we say clusters, I'll give an example. We formed a cluster in Tare, Chimanimani, the epicenter of Cyclone Idai, where they were growing pineapples. So the pineapples were growing organically. But when you then want to export them, you need to have a certificate to prove that these are really organic. The same way when you move around telling people that you've passed your O-levels, people need to see the certificate. You get it? So we cannot move around and say we've got organic products when we have not proven to the buyers that they're organic. So we went through a process of putting together farmers in Chimanimani, and they went through a set of training in terms of organic certification. They got their certification. And as we speak, they're exporting to the Netherlands. Organic certified pineapples. Usually they used to get 20 cents per kg in terms of exports. But now, due to organic certification, the money that again is 90 cents per kg. And you can even see, because at the end of the day, all this that we're doing, we want to improve the livelihoods of our Zimbabweans. And now people were able to take their children to school, buy furniture, buy cars, and the program is now, we started with around 40 farmers as a pilot, but now we've got more than 300 farmers in Chimanimani who are participating into the same. We did the same for Rushinga, we did the same for Binga, Lupane, Gweru, just to mention a few. So these clusters, we are going in the back of beyond, making sustainable, viable business entities in an area where you normally even look at. And the good thing now with the thrust of our minister is we are focusing on our heritage. And we've done the same for Baobab. I think you know the one in Tenga where we are doing Amarula. So the idea is not only to export the raw material, but we want to move up the value chain so that we get more value. So we're doing powder, we're doing Baobab juice, we're doing the wine for Amarula, but also importantly the Amarula oil. Even for Baobab, there's Baobab oil, which is used in the pharmaceuticals. So all those things are now happening.
Exciting. I think the good thing is your role in promoting the production and marketing of these products is also exposing the other avenues of income generation that are being exploited. But I also want you to touch on the demand in terms of these products. How highly are they being demanded outside of the country, and how big is the market anyway?
You know, one thing I've noted in my stint working for Zimtrade, I think the issue is we have to produce. The market is there. It's quite big. The essential oil business is $1 billion business. And if you look at our share, it's very, very small. So the key thing that we encourage most of the SMEs and even the big companies, before you get into production, make sure you sign an off-take agreement. The whole idea, I'll give you an example. There's one time we got an order for chickens in Luanda, but then the buyer was preferring baby chickens. But here people had big chickens. So now if you go and produce without talking to the person you're selling to, you must think that there's no market. But the issue is we did not understand the market before we produced. So if you look even at our organic pineapples, before we even did the process of organic certification, we brought the buyer. They looked at the product. We agreed on a roadmap, and we then exported. The same with what we're doing with Baobab, the same with what we want to do with the sesame oil and the sesame. All of it, we first make sure that the producers have an off-take agreement so that they can export. You remember we had Kutch University exporting rock melons to UAE. This is product diversification. And before they did that, we had discussions with the buyers. We signed an off-take agreement. We agreed on the price.
So you come in as facilitators. You connect the producers with the markets and also facilitate the issues of the off-take agreements and so forth.
We don't do business. We facilitate. And when we facilitate, when we see that there's a gap in terms of capacity, we also come through with the assistance in terms of capacitation, whether be it certifications or the training that is required for us to comply with whatever is required. So we come through and do that.
That's Mr. Allan Majuru, the CEO of Zimtrade. We are discussing the role of Zimtrade in promotion of Zimbabwe trade as well as the growth of the economy. We'll be back. Stay with us. Welcome back. The discussion today is centered on the role that Zimtrade plays in facilitating and promoting trade. Now, Mr. Majuru, you mentioned earlier that you are also promoting through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Of course, we know that the synergies, the whole of government approach, the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education comes in, the innovation hubs that have been established across the country are centering also on promotion of heritage-based production of goods and services. And this is also where you are coming in as the country's trade promotion board. How exactly are you making sure that the country's heritage, the country's endowments are being utilized for the promotion of trade between Zimbabwe and other countries?
You see, the good thing is we have put in place a new strategic focus with the guidance of our minister, 2025 to 2030. And one key thing that he emphasized and underscored was we need to focus on that which we have got a competitive advantage. He was very clear, and I think I would like to quote him. He said, we can't export dates to Saudi Arabia. We can't export olives to Saudi Arabia because they are good at it. But we can export mazo orange crush because we are good at it. We can export baobab powder and baobab oil. We are good at it. That's our heritage. Baobab powder, baobab oil grows from a tree that we don't water, that we don't even put pesticides. So we are getting it organically certified so that we get a niche in terms of the market price when we export. So that's the thrust we are focusing on. I'll tell you of late in terms of blueberries. I know other countries are producing blueberries, but Zimbabwe and Africa has been one of the fastest growing exporter of blueberries. Why? Because of our climate. It's here. If you eat a blueberry from Zimbabwe and then taste from any other country, you know why I'm saying this. You know the difference. And this is what we've experienced when we go to UAE, when we go to Europe. So we are focusing on that which gives us comparative advantage when we produce. And it also helps us in determining price. We also get a good price for the same. So a lot is happening. So we have even gone a step further now to say we need to put in place aggregation centers. Remember, export is the continuous supply of quality goods competitively. So when we get into a market, we don't want a situation whereby people love our blueberries, people love our baobab oil, and then we stop. So issue of aggregation becomes quite key. So locally, we're going to be working with key partners, universities, vocational training centers, etc., just to mention a few, to make sure that we set up aggregation centers that we use to consolidate from small scale guys, because alone they cannot penetrate markets. But if they come together, we consolidate, we facilitate with the logistics, we can continuously supply quality goods, because we're also going to be doing quality assurance to make sure that we meet that which is required of us from the buyers.
What exactly are you doing in terms of promoting small to medium enterprises? Yes, I believe in terms of Manicaland, you mentioned Money, those could be individuals that you identified and that are coming on board. But how are you working with established SMEs to make sure they are also sustainable and they are part of the programs that you are running?
We have got a number of programs that we are running with them, including the trainings. We've got a marketing and branding for international competitiveness training program that we offer. And also we do the promotional events for them to participate. One thing that we've looked and seen is packaging is quite key. So people buy what they see. I'll tell you, when you go into a shop yourself, when you buy lace, you're not seeing the lace, you're seeing packaging, but you still buy. So we are putting a lot of effort to make sure that the packaging requirements are quite key. But to just go back to the previous issue of aggregation centers, what we've also done to assist SMEs, including the big guys, is we are now setting up in-house, in-market warehouses, consolidation centers in other countries. Like, for example, we're going to start with Zambia. And, we need product presence. We don't want a situation whereby products are required and we say, no, let's get in touch with our company in Harare and then start shipping. So we are going to have a warehouse that we run ourselves where all the goods will be put so that both the big guys, the SMEs, have market presence. And when a good is required, the reaction time to the consumer is also cut short. And there's that consistency that we are talking about. So all these are coming through with the new strategic thrust that we've been given by our minister in terms of aggregation centers, in market warehouses, quality assurance, and also the logistics. If I can take you back in the 80s, or maybe you were not born, but,
I was.
but there was Afret Air. The reason why we were one of the biggest horticulture exporters is because we were working on the logistics. And the reason why the likes of Kenya and Ethiopia are doing well because they're on the logistics. So pretty soon we want to go to a situation whereby we've got a supportive logistics infrastructure that makes it very competitive for us to deliver our goods in London, in Europe, and even to our neighboring countries.
That also puts a demand in terms of human resources. How are you capacitating yourself as an organization in terms of the human resource requirements and the skills for all these operations?
So see, if you see trade promotion organizations in every country, there is normally one that does this business. So there is a lot of training that is required. And the good thing for us, we've put in place a very good graduate training program that assists us so that when we then want to get managers or to promote people, we've got a pool that we get from for us to be able to have the skill that is necessary for us to get there. But the good thing is also we are working with the private sector, what we call associate trainers, and even the universities have provided also the capacity that is required for us to assist in that front. We even go and give lectures as guest lecturers, not only me but my team, where we also trying to make sure that we are supporting Education 5.0.
It might not be easy exploring new markets, going as far as Europe and so forth, Asia, establishing markets there. But what challenges would you say you have been facing or you are facing, and how are you addressing them?
So our challenges are mainly faced with the challenges faced by industry. And I think one key issue that is very topical is the issue of ease of doing export business. And the good thing is, I think as government, we're also part of the people who are also giving a solution in terms of streamlining processes so that we make it seamless for our exporters to do business. In a global village, there's a lot of competition that is there. And our goal is we are looking at issues that we can remove, streamline, etc., to make sure that our exporters focus more on the production. And when they want to export, it's not a what? It's not a challenge. Things just move seamlessly. Yeah.
Are there lessons that you have learned so far, Mr. Majuru, from the countries that you have been to that you think you can implement locally to improve your operations and also to improve the issues of ease of doing business and grow the economy in general?
I think learning is two-way. We've had Malawi, Zambia, Uganda, all those TPOs, and even Kenya have come through to also in Tanzania, an appreciation of how we are handling our stuff. But I think for me, one key issue I think that is being lobbied for is the single export window. I think where we need to digitalize our processes so that there's less human interface. And if you want to get an export document, you just lodge, you get it online, you do your export business, and it's done. We just need to have a one-stop shop for all the export and also import documents that are required so that we minimize movement from one office to the other.
We do have the AFCFTA that is being implemented. Zimbabwe is member, is ratified it, and how and where does Zimtrade come in?
I think the focus for us is to promote intra-Africa trade. I think if you look at all the continents, the least trade happens within this continent, and also we trade mainly raw materials and commodities. So we also need to move up the value chain. But the key focus from the discussions that have been happening is the issue of infrastructure. Because if we work on our infrastructure, trade can be seamless. And we always use an example of what the Second Republic did at the Bay Bridge border post. And this is a learning point for all other African countries to say, if we have such improvements and such technology at a border, the flow of goods and services can be also improved. And I see a lot is going to be happening at Shirundu, even at Forbes, to also facilitate the same. So as much as there are opportunities, I think as countries in Africa, we also need to put a lot of effort on infrastructure for facilitate movement. But one key thing I think that even our minister elaborated on is, I think there's too much focus on goods, but there's massive potential in services. Our people, you know, we recently had a deal where we exported teachers to Rwanda. There's a lot of construction services that we can offer within the continent and beyond.
We'll be back for more. Stay with us. Now we are shifting our focus to Osaka 2025, and Zimbabwe will be part of the countries and organizations attending that prestigious event. Mr. Majuru, Zimbabwe, you will be representing Zimbabwe. Officials from government will be there. Officials in business will be there representing Zimbabwe at the Osaka 2025. What are the benefits of going there?
So, just to give context, this is a 6-month event starting April 13 to October 13, and the whole idea is to showcase that which Zimbabwe can offer the rest of the world. There are going to be more than 150 countries there. We expect there to be more than 20 million visitors. So already, by just looking at that, it's a platform for us to market the country. So I think before I get into the trade, tourism, and investment issues, one key thing that we've learned in such events, it's also an opportunity for us to learn international best practices, how the world is moving, etc., so that we can see how best to adopt that to our setting as Zimbabwe. It's not copy and paste. We have got our own advantages and our own privileges, so we have to make sure that that which we learn is adapted to make Zimbabwe a force to reckon with. But also, if you look at trade, we want to make sure that we increase our trade, not only with Japan, but also with other countries that are going to be there. So it's a platform for us to do the same. Equally goes for investment. We want to increase our investment, and equally goes for tourism. We also want to make sure that there is a lot of tourist arrivals that will then come after Osaka, especially from Japan, since it's the host country. So it's necessary that we be there as a country, because the opportunities that Osaka offers are quite big, and our role is to facilitate business, to make business during.
Let's talk business as now between Zimbabwe and Japan. How is it?
No, trade volumes are quite low, but as much as it is a challenge, we want to turn that into opportunity using Osaka. And if I can tell you, if you look at petalite, you know, when you mine lithium, there's petalite that comes through. Most of the petalite that Japan is using is coming from here. They use it for pottery. So we want to also make sure that they not only just source, but they also come in to work with us and do business, so that we can increase the same. And they've got a lot of interest, especially in the arts and crafts that we want to explore. And the reason why the arts and crafts sector is so important to us is the livelihoods that can be changed if there is tangible business that we can do with Japan and other countries in that sector. Yeah.
There's also issues of technology. Japan is well known for being a leader in technology. How are you looking forward to tapping into that expertise and bring it back home?
So the good thing is, through the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education and Innovation, we are going to be holding side events to also tap into the same. But also we want to make sure that the innovations that have been put forward are also commercialized. And we want to use the same platform to see how best we can commercialize on those innovations. So as I've said, and rightfully you have asked, learning is also a key component during this fair. And that's why we want to tap into the knowledge that I have in terms of technology, innovation, and even how they do their construction. These days, I think it's less of bricks and more of technology in terms of how they are doing their construction.
Mm-hmm. You have attended the preparatory meetings, and perhaps how far is Zimbabwe in terms of preparing for this summit?
So for us, I think everything's on course. Our proposal in terms of, I wish I could say it, but it's a trade secret. If others then hear this, they'll then innovate to try and compete with us. But I believe we have got to put up a good show in Osaka, and the construction is on course, and we expect to be handed over our pavilion, I think, end of February, beginning of March, and we're going to do test runs on the 4th of April to see if everything is in order. And also we've been doing trainings in terms of culture and language. The Japanese culture is quite key. Even when we were doing the last preparatory meeting in Osaka, there are 4 things that they are going to train us. Number 1 is language, but number 2 is manners. So culture is quite key in Japan. So we've been doing trainings for the past month or so. Yes, Zimtrade training, the people are going to man the pavilion on the same, so we're quite happy. But they're going to also do their part of the training to make sure that everything is in order.
Now, at one point, Mr. Majuru, Zimbabwe was part of the Expo Dubai 2020. What key lessons did you learn, or did we learn as a country from that event going into Osaka 2025?
So I think there are a couple of issues I think we also discussed as a team. There was an organization that was contracted to also do an evaluation of the successes and also key lessons that we can learn from Dubai Expo. But I think one key thing was planning that we learned, that planning is of essence. It's not about us as government, but also we then need to put a platform for business to do what they intend to do. That's why you see the likes of the MAUC, the new city that has come out. It also came from that. And a number of things, even for us as Zimtrade, we did a lot of side events on trade, which emanated in some of our products, Mazoe, Cerevita, getting into the market, and even our horticultural blueberries, because we've got our blueberries, our stone fruits, which are my peaches, etc. All those. So planning is quite key, so that we give essential time to the business community to also come through. You see, Osaka is not near. Osaka is very far. I think when we were coming back, it was 12 hours from Osaka to Doha, and then from Doha to here, 8 hours. So the further it is, the more expensive it becomes. Certainly. So we need to make sure that when we then bring our business community, they also get value for money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for time.
Definitely.
Now, let's have this bird's eye view of Osaka 2025. How do you see it position the country in terms of reputation, in terms of investments, global standing for Zimbabwe? How will Osaka 2025 help?
Normally, it's better when you tell your story, because if others tell it for you, they might not be as good, or in some instances, it's bad. So we want to use Osaka as a platform to share our narrative, to tell people what Zimbabwe is, so that they hear it from ourselves. Culture is a very key, important aspect for us, and we're going to also put a lot of effort for us. We've got a lot of tools that we can use for the same. Mbira is something that is unique to Zimbabwe, and we want to tell our story through cultural dances, through song, using Mbira. Even our artists, those that make the stone sculptures, we want them to be present there and show how they are made. We want the world to know how to play the Mbira. So we are going to be teaching people how to play Mbira, having Mbira lessons in Osaka, so that experience, that's why tourism is very important. If I buy you a t-shirt, you are going to forget. But if I take you through an experience, you will never forget.
You are the commissioner for Osaka 2025. What exactly is in your mind in terms of the work that you envisage to see, that you envisage to do, and how you want to leave the scene at the end of Osaka 2025?
So when you get such roles, I think what is important is the legacy you leave behind. And you also want to make sure that the next commissioners who will follow have got a very good blueprint to use going forward. Our legacy, although I'm the commissioner, but we work as a team. So as a team, what we want to make sure is we see an increased investment inflow, we see increase in trade, we see increase in tourism. That is what we want to see. Remember, government is putting in money. The business community is putting in time and also resources. We need to make sure that there's a return on investment on the same. So for me, I need to make sure that after all is said and done, when we do our evaluation, we are focusing on the return on investment. Yes.
That's Mr. Allan Majuru, the CEO of Zimtrade and Commissioner of Osaka 2025, representing Zimbabwe at that event. Thank you so much for making time to join us on the State of the Economy.
Thank you.
And I'm Justin Mahlahla. Let's make time again for another episode of State of the Economy. Pleasant viewing.